appreciate the privilege to be here and advocate on behalf of two amendments, number 45 in Division B and number 91 in Division A. Amendment 45 in Division B prohibits funds in this bill from being used to penalize a financial institution for serving a legitimate or duly authorized marijuana business. You might recognize this amendment from back in 2014 when the Chamber considered virtually the same language and we passed it 231 to 192. The amendment has 21 co-sponsors and they are from both sides of the aisle. There are strong voices from each of our parties on this amendment. Times have changed and our understanding of cannabis has grown immensely despite some severe restrictions on research. Our states, however, have recognized that times are changing and yet federal laws haven't kept pace. Our federal laws are outdated. Today, 9 states recognize recreational marijuana as legal, including Massachusetts, Colorado, California, and of course my home state of Washington. An additional 30 more, yes, 30, allow for medical marijuana usage, and that includes Florida and Oklahoma. And even more states like Alabama, Georgia, and Wyoming, to name a few, are experimenting with marijuana-derived products like CBD, also known as cannabinoid. Polls from earlier this year found that nearly 2/3 of Americans want the laws changed for recreational use. Support for medical marijuana tops 90%. The people in this country want the law to treat marijuana as we do alcohol. The second thing in these states, our states, have noticed is that it is safer to legalize and strictly regulate cannabis rather than drive users into the black market. Currently, in these states that I've mentioned, Congress has forced the creation of certain gray markets where the industry must sort of operate in the shadows. And it's particularly concerning to me based on my perspective on the Financial Services Committee, because the cannabis industry is unable to access banking services to grow their business or serve their customers. They are forced to resort to cash-only practices for their customers. These large sums of cash make dispensaries an obvious target for robberies. And I'm not talking in hypotheticals here. As I have mentioned to this committee before, the story of Travis Mason in Colorado. Travis was a Marine veteran. He took a job as a security guard for a dispensary. He was training to become a police officer along with his wife. He survived. He managed to survive his service in the United States Marine Corps, but he didn't survive his job guarding a store here at home. At 24 years old, Travis left behind his wife and 3 children. Why? Because someone wanted to take advantage of a cash-only situation. If we do nothing, this is bound to happen again. The CBO scored this amendment to have an insignificant budgetary effect. I urge you to rule this amendment in order so that the House can vote on this important public safety issue. My second amendment, Mr. Chairman, is number 91 in Division A, and it would direct the EPA to fund the Clean Watersheds Needs Survey. The Clean Watersheds Needs Survey, which Congress required the EPA to conduct under the Clean Water Act, is a comprehensive assessment of the outstanding need for stormwater and wastewater control facilities nationwide. And it's a common sense requirement. In order to deal with stormwater runoff and wastewater overflows, we have to understand the nature of the problem and measure it. And we know there's a huge need. In our state, we know, for example, that there is a projected stormwater funding deficit of about $19 billion between now and 2036. State and local government budgets are stretched thin. They're stepping up. They need us to play our partnership role. And that's why, frankly, I'm glad the House made an important first step earlier this evening by passing my bill to create a stormwater infrastructure funding task force so we can find new, innovative approaches to fill the gap. But the recommendations coming out of that task force won't be useful if we don't know the nature, how big the need is. And that's why the Clean Watersheds Needs Survey is important. EPA is actually required to conduct this survey every 4 years, but declining appropriations have impacted the agency's ability to release the Clean Watersheds Needs Survey in a timely manner. They haven't done it for 6 years. What my amendment would do is ensure the survey is prioritized by the agency so the federal government is better equipped to handle this rapidly growing problem. I urge the committee to find this amendment in order as well. And Mr. Chairman, I thank you very much for the opportunity to be here.
Thank you very much. Mr. Perry.